Hola, everyone. My name is Shauna Hibbets, and I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. And I'm a new member in the Be Free Inner Circle. And honestly, I don't know why it took me so long to join. The first 10 minutes that I was in there, I felt so fulfilled and extremely grateful to be a part of such a loving group. Every single post, every single comment, every single interaction was just so incredibly supportive and genuine. It is a sisterhood like no other. I am so happy to be a part of this group and happy that it is a part of what I need to continue to move forward in my purpose. If you're not in the group, I suggest you click on the link and get in there today so we can enjoy each other's company in this beautiful space that Siobhan has offered for all of us. Thank you again. Have a great day.
Hey, welcome back to the Girl Be Free podcast. I'm your host, Siobhan, where I'm going to inspire you to show up for yourself. This week, we are doing another Chasing Free series, which I'm very excited about. And this is where I interview women who are living in purpose, pursuing their dreams, and unapologetically showing up for themselves. And this particular series is not just for entrepreneurs, it's for women who are really doing the inner work. And when I talk about being free, it's not for people who have started a company or they have a small business, but really being free to live the life that you desire to live. So that can look like in your professional life and your personal life and everything in between. Today, I am over the moon excited to be interviewing Elise Johnson, whom I've watched flourish over the past few years. She's a part of the Be Free Inner Circle, my community for real sisterhood, as well as a faithful member of the Be Free Meetup. So Elise, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So I'm over the moon excited about this. And like I told you when we saw each other in person at the Be Free Meetup a couple of weeks ago, that I really wanted to have you on because I think it's important that people hear from, yes, people who have passion projects and have a business and all that jazz, but then also people who are doing the work to be free to live the life that they want on their own terms. And it has nothing to do with entrepreneurship because this way it gives the show a balance and people can relate to anybody that comes on the show, whether they have a business or they don't. So that's specifically why I wanted to bring you on. And I feel like we've met like a couple of years ago, right?
I think so. I think in person at your first event, I want to say
Yeah.
that you did for MoMA,
Oh,
and
and
then we
Mocha,
did
yes.
yes, and then we did the vision board party. That's when we first met
Yes.
in person. But I have been following you since you've had your group on Facebook.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Yeah, sure. Yeah. That's a long
so
time ago, right?
yeah, so
And
here we are.
I know, and I'm excited because there's certain people that I pay attention to. Like, yes, there's so many people that are a part of the community verse, online and in real life, but there's certain people that just catch my eye, so to speak, and I see them doing the work. And when I see that, it's like I just gravitate towards it. Like, oh my goodness, I love it. So that's exactly why I wanted to have you on the show. So we're going to get started. And the first question is, what inspired you to begin creating the life that you want?
So I was in a time of my life, it was a low time. And I asked myself, is this it? Is this what I am supposed to be doing? Because I didn't feel like I was living the life that I wanted. And when I started my journey, I would see quotes here and there that says that you can create the life that you want. And I felt like if I'm here on this earth, I'm here for a purpose, then I have the power to and the ability to create the life that I want. And so thus began my journey.
Mhm. And so was there something that happened in your life where it triggered like there has to be more to life than this and I want to create the life that I want? Like was there a situation that happened that like triggered something in you?
Yes, it was the culmination of several situations that had happened that just led me to a space where I was very unhappy. I was depressed all the time. I had people in my life where I felt like I was giving myself to them. And when I hit a low point, no one was around to kind of be the person that I needed,
Mhm.
or that I was to them. And so that's kind of, it was just like, what am I doing here? Why am I here? Is this it, basically? And so those several situations just had led me to say, I guess there was an unction within me that says, no, this is not it. Yes, you're supposed to do more if you get up and you do the work. And it took me a while to kind of dig myself out of that space. And so I guess that quiet voice that I had within me, or that quiet knowing that I had within me, it kind of helped me dig myself out little by little.
And I'm so
So,
glad that you mentioned that, because I feel like so many women can relate to that when they're depressed and they're sad, and it's like this feeling of emptiness or this void, and it's
yes,
like there has to be more, but what is more? And I
yes.
was just having a conversation with someone the other day, actually my mentee. We were having a conversation. I'm like, you know how you have that little voice inside, and it'll
Mhm.
say like if you're driving, it'll say turn right, you ignore it,
Yeah.
you keep going straight, and you're like, something happens and you're like, darn it, I should have turned right.
Mhm.
That's that little
Mhm.
voice that's inside. But oftentimes people ignore that. But what
Yes.
I have come to learn is that the more that you pay attention to that little voice, the louder it gets and the more that it will guide you. And so now I do pay attention to the small things, like grab your keys off the table and put them where whatever, those little
Yeah.
things. And then
Mhm.
that, I feel that lets my spirit know that I can trust, I can trust you to listen to the small things, that I'm going to guide you even more, and you're going to be able to hear. So I'm so glad that you said that.
Yes. And I love the GPS reference, because
Yeah.
even if you don't listen to that voice, that life will reroute you to get you back on the path that you're supposed to be. So I love that reference.
Yeah, I agree. And I want more people to pay attention. Um, Oprah calls it the whisper. And at first I'm like,
Oh.
what is she talking about, the whisper? But then the more that I started listening within, I'm like, oh, and there has
Mhm.
been really dark moments in my life where, and this was several years ago, doing Be Free Project, seriously. And
Mhm.
I was having a moment and I heard this voice say, surrender. And I just
Yes.
dropped everything that I was doing. I believe at the time I was baking cinnamon muffins in the kitchen or whatever. And I
Mhm.
just got on my knees and I started worshiping God, because I'm like, I hear you loud and clear. I surrender to whatever you're telling me to. And that was when I think the shift started for me, where that
Yes.
voice started getting a little bit louder because I started paying attention.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yes.
So what was the first personal growth resource that you used? And this could be a book, a coach, a mentor, journaling, meditation. Like, what was the first resource that you used to begin to change your life?
I would have to say journaling, because I've always journaled. I always was a writer since I was a little girl. I always had diaries and little journal books. But I think at the time where I like really started to use it to change my life, it was hard to write, because if you're writing your feelings, and it's basically like a catharsis moment happening, and it's painful to kind of get that out. And so I found myself reluctant to write about what I was feeling, but I knew I had to write something, because, you know, in the Bible it says, write the vision, make it plain. So instead of writing what I was feeling at the moment, I started to write what I wanted to feel like. I started to write affirmations. I started to basically manifest the life that I wanted through writing. And that kind of helped me to be able to address and face what I was feeling at the moment. So that would be my first resource that I use. And then I read The Alchemist. I would read The Alchemist a couple of times, like every year or something like that, which I'm scheduled to read it again.
Okay.
To see the different perspective. And then meditation. And at that time, it was more so geared towards prayer, instead of, instead of me meditating and being silent, I was basically meditating and saying my requests. And then once I began to grow, it became easier to listen, because when you pray, you can't just pray and pray and pray. You have to be able to listen to receive an answer if that's what you're asking for. And so that's where I began to meditate, silently, or do guided meditations, so that I can receive the answers that I sought.
I'm so glad that you share like the practical things that you have done to really start your personal growth journey. Because I too am a journaler. Is journaler a word? I don't think so. But I too, I too started with journaling. And I was telling my coach the other day, like, because we were talking about like how did I get started, and I said I started writing. My eighth grade teacher, Miss Gilmore, gave me my first journal, and it was my therapy before I started going to therapy. And I still have all of my journals to this day. I still write. Now, I don't write every single day, but I do write frequently. And that is what changed my life. And when I was just sharing this too in the Be Free Inner Circle, when it came to discovering my purpose, I was just writing what I wanted for my life. Like you said, creating the life I want. What did that look like? And I just kept writing and writing and writing. And then one day I was on Facebook, and there was a young lady from my daughter's Girl Scout troop, and I had posted something, and she said, "I'm not surprised by the work that Siobhan is doing. She's always been a light." And it hit me in that moment where I started writing and I started crying, because I really felt like the Holy Spirit was talking to me. And that is what confirmed my purpose, which is to be a light and empower others to be free. And so I think when it comes to doing this personal growth work, it's the simple things, like you said, praying, meditating, writing, and then allowing whatever is within to come out so that you can grow, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yes.
not like this big thing that people, yeah.
It's never like that, especially because a lot of times when people are afraid to go on a self-growth journey because they don't know where to start or they don't know what to do. And I think that was me at one point, but your inner knowing knows what to do if you just allow it to happen. So, yeah, the small little things, we have more wisdom in this life than we give ourselves credit for. So,
I agree.
whatever is drawing you, or if it's meditation, if it's a book or a coach, then that is basically your future self telling you how to get to where you want to go.
Ooh, yes. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. That's so good. I agree 100%. Oh, and I love the book, The Alchemist, and I'll make sure that I list that in the show notes. Now, I've only read it once, but I will flip to certain sections, and then I had my husband read it, and he thought it was so good, which I'm glad, because he's not usually impressed by the books that I recommend or whatever. But he read it
Yeah.
and thought it was really good. So I love that you read it every year to get a new perspective on it. I think that that's great.
Yeah.
Let's see. So how do you show up for yourself and do the work? And what does doing the work look like for you? Because this is a big question that I get all the time, like how to. So what does the work look like for you?
Um, the work looks like, well, first I need to listen to what I need. So the work could be being still and being quiet and slowing down, or the work could look like exercising or working out, which is what I've been doing. Or the work could be eating and feeding my body what I need. Um, I think the actual work itself is to listen to what it is that you need, and then that way it guides you to what you do. And so I show up for myself by making those promises that say, I'm going to eat better, I'm going to exercise, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to journal, I'm going to think positive thoughts and express gratitude. So to me, that's what the work looks like for me. It's just listening to myself and keeping those promises that say, this is what your body needs, this is what your mind needs, and this is what your soul needs, and to do it. So it's kind of hard because it's even I'm still figuring that out. It's not something that there's a blueprint for it or any kind of instructions. It's just, what do you need at the moment, and then executing. So
Yeah. And so what I'm hearing is that it's going to be different for everybody, right?
yeah,
So my
yes,
journey and your journey will look very different. And what is helping you show up for yourself is listening to what you feel internally and then taking steps forward in whatever you feel connected to.
yes,
Mm, I
yeah.
love that.
But I'm
And
still learning. I'm still evolving in the work aspect too. So
yes, and I'm glad you said that, because there's no, okay, I got all the answers. I'm ready to do all the things. And like no, it is a
mhm,
journey. And one of the things that I say all the time is that I'm a lifelong learner, because it's always areas of yourself that I feel that you have to grow and evolve in. Um,
yes,
I even, and we've talked about this plenty of times, like this is my year of growing and healing. And when I tell you
mhm,
this year, it's been a doozy for me.
mhm,
And specifically when it comes to like friendships and this shift that has happened or whatever. And I've learned
Mhm.
so much about myself this year that I
Yes.
thought I was good. And then I'm like, oh, and then even my husband brought something up the other day. He said, well, I think you could be, because I was like, you know what? I'm a great friend. I am a great friend, just pumping myself all the way up. And he was like, I think
Mhm.
there's room for growth. And I'm like, what areas? I'm like, what areas do you see? And he was like, I think you could be more thoughtful. I think you can be more considerate. And he said, I think you can pay attention to detail a little bit more. And I'm like, really? What is that coming from? Right. And so we talked
Mhm.
a little bit more about it. And then I talked to a friend about it. And she shared something with me about how she felt, how I handled the situation. And I said, I'm so thankful that you said that because I'm not perfect. I said, I'm definitely flawed. And when people
Mhm.
share something with me, that I'm always going to think about it. I'm going to journal about it, and then I'm going to reflect, and then I'm going to take action. So what she shared
Mhm.
with me was some things on how I could be a better friend, and I said thank you for that. Thank you that
Mhm.
you shared that with me, so I can show up even better. So I'm glad that
Yes.
he said it, even though in a moment I was like, "What you talking
Mhm.
about?"
Right. Exactly.
But I received it and I'm acting on it. And I'm like, that shows me that there's areas of, there's room for me to grow. And I appreciate that. But some people will
Mhm.
block it out like, and I don't want to hear that. And then they stay stuck.
Exactly. Yes. And I had a similar experience like that at work. Um, I guess because I'm more introverted. And so this year has been a doozy for me, but it also has been a year of stepping outside of my comfort zone. And so I was put on a project that made me basically step out of my introversion, and I had to be extroverted and I had to be around people. And sometimes that was draining. And so once that project was over, it was like, I don't want to be bothered with anybody. I just want to be to myself. I want to come in, do my work, and just, I talk what I want to talk and then not. And so I had a couple of coworkers, they were like, well, is there something wrong? Are you mad at me? And, you know, what did I do? And I'm like, what do you mean? What did you do? Like, I'm just taking time for myself. But I feel like the energy that I give out, people recognize that. And maybe it was me taking time for myself, but it was also affecting others around me in a way. And I should have been more mindful of that. I may have should have said, um, I need time for myself or something, so it wouldn't make them feel like they did something wrong to me or made me mad in any way. And I think that the takeaway that I had was to be mindful of how you are in certain situations, because I had no idea. I just thought I was just being to myself, and I didn't know how my energy affected other people around me. So that is my takeaway, and that is what I plan to work on more, is to maintain my boundaries, but also be mindful of the energy that I put out.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And that is growth, and
Hmm.
then it's also self-awareness, right? So
Yes.
not just thinking I'm the ish, right? Like, but like,
Yeah.
no, okay, let me consider how this person, let me consider the energy that I was putting out and how it was received. And then how can I be better so that I'm not in these situations in the future? That's
Right.
beautiful. That's why you're on the show, right? That is why. Because everyone is not doing the work. And I think I'm just here to help. I'm just here to serve and
Hmm.
to support whatever. And like I think these interviews are really great because now you can hear from other people's perspective and what they're doing. And then people can kind of chew up the meat and spit out the bones, if you will. But I love
Yeah.
how you handled that for sure.
But thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. So, what is your biggest fear and how do you overcome your fears?
So I think my biggest fear is failure, and maybe not necessarily failure. One of my therapists has said that I have a fear of success. Um, and I'm like, what do you mean? Like, who fears success? Everyone wants to be successful. But I think um, we self sabotage because maybe we feel like we don't either deserve it or are worthy of the success that we have, or are capable or have the abilities to achieve success. And so I think that is my fear, is failure, but on the flip side of that is success. um And so I'm still overcoming that. I'm still learning how to overcome it. Someone in the Be Free Inner Circle mentioned Mel Robbins' book, The 5 Second Rule.
Oh, yes.
And I haven't read that book, but I did go and watch the video and kind of read the notes on basically what is the 5 second rule. And so I said, oh, well, maybe I can start to incorporate this in my life with small things that I'm afraid to do. And so back going back to doing the small things, that's small things. Um, Keeping promises to yourself that that align with your goals, because your goals are set up to help you achieve success. But if you don't keep the promises to yourself to accomplish those goals, then how can you achieve that success? So I think the 5 second rule is something that I can incorporate, and that is where I start small and then just saying yes to things. Like I said earlier, this year has been a year outside of my comfort zone and doing things that I would not normally do, such as the project. But I said yes to it because I'm like, oh, well, if someone has seen me or they feel like I am capable of doing it, then who am I to say no to that? They see something in me that I can't see for myself. And maybe this is necessary so that I can see it in myself, so that I can say that, yes, I can do it, or to live up to what someone else sees in me. So saying yes, keeping promises, and the 5 second rule is how I overcome my fear of failure and success.
Yeah, that's so rich. And the 5 Second Rule is an excellent book. I read it last year, maybe the year before last. I actually listened to the audiobook and she actually reads it. And
Mm-hmm.
what I like about it is that it's very conversational. So it doesn't even sound like she's reading her own book. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. And it is one of those books, like if you're someone that struggles with procrastination and getting things done and stepping outside
Mm-hmm.
of your comfort zone, it is the book to read. And so it was so good that I ended up purchasing the book. So now I have a physical copy and I
Mm-hmm.
will kind of reference back to it. And I may even choose that as a book for us to read in the Be Free Inner Circle. So in January, we're going to be reading Atomic Habits by James Clear. We're
Okay.
going to start that in January. And then maybe the next book we read will be the 5 Second Rule, because it's the perfect personal growth book in my opinion. And then as
Mm-hmm.
far as when it comes to like the fear of success, you are not alone. I feel like there's been several people in the community that has said that they
Mm-hmm.
had a fear of success. I had that revelation maybe a few years ago, um,
Mm-hmm.
because I see the vision for the company and I see things growing quickly, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
me right now. And so my
Yeah.
thing is, as it grows, will I be able to manage all of the things? So let me just stay at this level where it's comfortable,
Yes.
because I can
Mm-hmm.
take care of this, right? But then when it starts to grow too quickly, what if I let people down? What if I'm not able to manage it
Mm-hmm.
all? What, all of the what ifs. And so I was having this
Mm-hmm.
conversation with my coach or whatever, and we kind of worked through it. And so now it's just me affirming, like, I've made it this far, obviously with God on
Mm-hmm.
my side, and have
Yeah.
done an amazing job, right? And as I
Yes.
grow, God will put the right people in alignment that's going to help support the vision. Because at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
this is not even about me.
Yes.
It's not about me at all. It's about serving people. And so now I have to trust that the people that I need to be in my life to help me take
Mm-hmm.
the business to the next level, they're going to be there. And it's already started with my coach and my biz besties and things like that. So I'm thinking I will be prepared for the overflow and just
Yes.
trust and be safe in that space.
Mm-hmm. And it also, that part goes back to the Alchemist, because it says when you have decided something, I think the quote is, all the universe will conspire to help you achieve that. And
Yes.
so,
Yes.
of course, they say the universe, but we know it's God. It's the spiritual, all-knowing being.
Yes.
God will conspire, but you have to say yes. And then I also follow this. He is more religious, prophetic and whatnot, but he talks about how God responds to movement. And if you don't move, then he won't move the pieces for you to get to where you're supposed to go. So it's about taking that first step, the small, however big or small it may be. So it's so funny that you said that, everything will be provided for you along the way, the people that you need, because I have been seeing that messaging um, consistently over the past few months. So,
Oh,
yes.
that's good. That's so good. So look, we're in this together, right?
Yes, we are.
Yes. So what keeps you motivated on days when you feel overwhelmed?
um, Looking back to see how far I have come and to realize the strength that I had then. Um, and then that it's okay to take a break, it's okay to rest. That rest is essential. But I think looking back on where I have come from kind of keeps me motivated to say, when I get overwhelmed or when I feel a certain way, because it's like maybe you need to take a step back. Maybe you need to take a rest and take a break, or you're overwhelmed because you're thinking about the future and things that hasn't even happened yet.
Yes.
So you need to be present in the moment. And so that's like, okay, well, I need to meditate. I need start my practice of meditation, or go a little bit harder on meditating so that I can remain present, journaling. So that kind of is what motivates me. And I usually am able to take the step back. I usually can draw from that strength that I've had, to get me to where I am now. And then I allow myself to feel that way, because that's a valid feeling, because we don't know what's going to come in the future. We don't have that insight. It's okay to be afraid sometimes of what that may be, but it's not okay to kind of remain stuck in that. And so I allow myself and I let that pass now.
And I love
So,
that, especially the part on taking a break and allowing your body time to rest. Because this came up in the Be Free Inner Circle this week, where a young lady asked a question, what does everyone do when they're on their cycle, but and they're lacking motivation and, still doing the work? And I'm like, allow your body to rest. These are two
hmm
days that you are not feeling motivated. You don't have to. And I think we as women need to give ourselves permission to rest and take a break, where we don't always have to be on to the next thing and doing and busy, busy, busy. It's like, no, let's pause and
hmm
take a break. And if you need to take a nap, if you need to rest, like, that is okay.
hmm
So yeah.
Yes.
Okay. What's the most important thing you've learned about yourself this year?
The most important thing that I learned about myself is that I'm a healer. I have the ability to heal self. I have everything within me um, to overcome any sadness or depression, and to kind of lift myself out if I'm in a low space, and to keep going. I learned that I'm resilient, that I'm able to take a step back to feel these emotions that may come about based on situations and experiences, and get back up and keep going. That I'm powerful, that I'm strong mentally, that I'm strong physically, that I'm strong emotionally. Those are things that I have learned about myself, because this year has been a doozy. Um, I I think you mentioned how you thought you had everything under control, and life said and I think I've been in that place. This is the start of this year. I was there, where I thought I had this healing thing down, this growth thing down, and life said, nope, we're going to throw you another curveball. And it's like I overcame that, and I'm in a better space than I was at the beginning of this year, that I have grown even more, that I have realize more about myself. So that's what I've learned this year.
Yeah, and that healing part is real, like so real. Like
Mhm.
even when I think about the mother wounds, I thought I was good. I'm like, I went to therapy, I did all my stuff, I am good. And then a curveball hit, and it
Mhm.
came really, really fast. And I was like, oh, we
Yes.
still got work to do. You
Mhm.
thought you were all the way there. Like, no, you're not all the way there yet. And I have been intentionally working really, really hard to heal even more. And like you, I'm in a much better space. I'm in a much better space with self, and how
Yes.
I've set boundaries with other people and how they treat me and how I allow them to treat me and how I treat myself. And I think
Mhm.
that that's so important, that we do the inner healing and not expect like somebody else to do the work, if you will, but like
Exactly.
you have to do the work yourself. And it is a lot. It is heavy.
Mhm. Mhm.
My year started off like, yep, we're good. We're going after it. I cheat. And even I believe this year I used a phrase like it was my year of leaping. I changed
Mm,
that on my birthday. I'm like, no, it's time to grow and heal because it is still stuff that needs to be done. And I
yes.
feel so good about that because, again, there's been so much growth that has happened and I've done so much work and I'm proud of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yay. So, which leads me to my next question. What are you most proud of?
Um, I'm most proud that I have decided to do the work because anyone can just give up. There was a time where I wanted to give up. I'm proud that I kept standing. I'm proud that I did whatever, whether it was falling, whether it was scooting, um, that I'm able to lift this heavy load, that I've been entrusted with lifting this heavy load. And because I know that what I'm doing is breaking generational curses, it is breaking and it is healing generational wounds. And I have recently accepted that fact. Like, I am the person in my family circle that is supposed to break these generational strongholds. And I used to think, I would see those posts where you're a generational healer and you're this. And I'm like, no, no, no. But these last couple of years had led me to know that I am the one who is supposed to break. And so I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the work that I'm doing. I'm proud of the woman that I am becoming. Um, I'm proud of everything that I'm learning about myself. I'm proud of the strength that I'm gaining, the voice that I'm finding. I'm proud of it all. So the work is what I'm most proud of, that I said yes to it and that I'm in it and I'm not going to give up, even no matter how hard it gets, no matter how stressful it gets, because I owe it to myself.
Ooh,
So,
that is a word. That's a word, Elise. That's a word. And I too am breaking generational curses or generational cycles, trauma, however you want to phrase it. And I remember my therapist said, when I went to her several years ago, she was like, you're breaking the generational chains or something. And I'm like, really? She said, your life is completely different than everything that that everything that came before you. And
Mhm.
she was like, it's completely opposite. And I'm like, you know what? I am breaking this generational cycle. And it is hard work. It really is.
Yes.
But even to this
Yeah.
day, I'm like, there's no way that I'm going to pass on my pain, my hurt to my children. So then they would have to repeat that. And I'm like, it stops with me. And you have to be intentional
Hmm.
about that. And I would love if that's the key thing that people take away from this episode. I mean, you dropped a lot of gems, but I really want people to think about that, like breaking the generational cycle so they're not passing that on to, other generations.
And not only, and as Black women, we're not just breaking the generational cycles within our families, but we're breaking generational cycles as a collective
Yes.
because we hold trauma not just of what's been done to us by our loved ones, but basically what has been done to us over centuries. We hold that trauma. And so, yeah, the immediate benefits is seen in your family, but I think as a collective, as Black women, we are breaking the curses, the cycles, the trauma, because we're able to lift other Black women up who are going through the same thing. So,
Absolutely. Perfectly said, which leads me to my next question. How important is community and sisterhood to you?
Um, it's very important because, like we said, this work is hard, it's heavy, and you need like-minded women to kind of encourage you. Yes, you have within you everything that you need, but sometimes you do need that kind word. Sometimes you need that shoulder to cry on. You need people who have journeyed before you to kind of help you along the way or give you pointers here and there. And it goes back to saying that God will provide the people in your life. And I think that's the community too, is that the people that come along are the ones who can help you, the ones who can, give you the little gems and give you the encouragement when you can't seek it for yourself. A lot of times we say that, prayer, it changes things, which it does, that God is always on your side. But I think God sends people to physically and to tangibly encourage you, because it's one thing to kind of get the encouragement in your mind and in your knowing, but to have someone say exactly what needs to be said, I think God sends those people. And so to me, in any kind of journey, you need other people. You can't necessarily go it alone. Whether it be you and God or you and God and someone else, you need that sense of community to kind of help you. We all need to help each other. So,
And that's one of the many reasons for the Be Free meetups and the Be Free Inner Circle
hmm
is to cultivate that community. And this has come up several times, and I mentioned it in the previous another episode of the podcast, where the beauty in watching women gather, whether it's in the Be Free Inner Circle or in the Be Free Meetup, and then everyone is there together. They're around like-minded women, and they realize as they hear one another's stories that they're not alone, and they don't have, they're not crazy for feeling stuck in their life or still not knowing what they want to be when they grow up. That there's a sister sitting right next to you that may feel the same way. So now we can encourage and uplift one another and support each other. And we need that. Like,
yes.
I do not want to do this journey alone. I told a friend the other day, like, I don't want to be one of those people where I get to the top and I'm lonely. No, I want
hmm
my tribe and my people to come with me. I want that. I want to see us all win so bad, because I don't want to make all the money and do all the things and then I don't have anyone to share it with.
Exactly.
Right.
And going back to like how I started this self-care journey, that was one of the things that I would write about all the time is I wanted to be surrounded by like-minded women. I wanted to be surrounded by women who encourage and uplift and who I can lean on when I need to lean on. And so when I started writing that is when you started to have your meetups. And so I'm like, everything that I have written down has manifested in some way. So,
Oh, I love that. Have you read, did we talk about the book Manifest Now by Idil
yes,
Ahmed?
yes, I have that book and I've gone through the book. I haven't read it from cover to cover, but I will go and read sections at a time. But I just love her. She was one of the first that I followed when I started my journey, because it's like everything that she would post spoke to me in some
Yes.
manner. And even to the point where I would write some of her affirmations down and write some of her words down in my journal and just meditate over that, because I couldn't, form the words myself. But she was saying exactly what I needed to say, hear, do, think. She had it. Yes.
And that's why I brought that up when you mentioned manifestation, because like she always spoke to my soul. No matter anytime I went on and was scrolling through, I'm like, you know what, that word is for me. Let me share it to my IG stories. But yeah, I
Yeah.
bought the book and I have the physical book and I have the audio book, and it's so, so, so good. And I think
hmm
that's the kind of like the perfect book to read when you're getting started, I think
Yes.
that's a good
Yes.
one too.
I agree.
Okay, so how do you support other women?
Um, I would say offering a word to them, a word of encouragement. If they have a product or service, then of course, then I'm all for supporting, small business, small women owned, Black women, women of color, whatever, in their journeys. But basically being there for them, being a person that's standing in the gap, um, encouraging them, praying for them, because you never know what people are going through. Um, but I think that's the way I support other women, is supporting their endeavors, whatever that may be, or being a shoulder to lean on. Um, yeah, that's
Yeah.
how I support.
Oh, look, please add me to your prayer list.
I
Add
will.
me,
I
thank you.
will.
I will take all the prayers. So, yes. So I know we mentioned several books here on the podcast, but what book would you highly recommend that the Girl Be Free listeners read? I know that's going to be
Ah,
hard when you read a lot.
yes, I do read a lot. Hmm. I would say, okay, so we mentioned the two. So I think the Manifest Now would be a book to read, because it gives you kind of like, I would say, a roadmap, or it gives you kind of what you need to start your journey. Um, I like The Alchemist because it kind of speaks to how you create your life and trusting that everything will be provided for you, whether you believe in the universe, whether you believe in God, if you say yes, if this is something that you want to do. So if you want to heal, then the universe, God, whatever, will provide you all the tools, or at least enlighten you to the tool or the abilities that you have within to heal. So those were the two books that I can think of off of the top of my head. I have so many books now, it's just hard.
I know. And I'm like, I'm glad I don't have to answer this question
It
because
is
it's
so
really
hard.
hard. But those two are great. So that's perfect. And I'll make
hmm
sure that I list both of those books in the show notes so people can take a look at it. What's one thing you would tell your 20-year-old self?
Um, I wrote this one down because I needed to journal this one because I want
Mm,
to elaborate. But to continue to be true to yourself, be yourself, trust that you have the answers, that you have everything within you to do whatever the sky is the limit with your abilities, that you um, will always be growing, always learning. Um, Protect your peace. Um, and let's see, continue to pray and believe in yourself. Believe that you have it. So yeah.
that's good. That's good. And then what advice would you give to someone just starting out with changing their life?
Um, don't shun away from the small things. Um, Take it one day at a time. You don't have to commit to this elaborate routine if it's just journaling a couple of times a week or it's just meditating 5 minutes a day. Um, it can kind of help jumpstart the habit. This journey, healing comes in cycles. The journey will be long, the journey will be hard and heavy, but it's worth it in the end. Once you get to the other side and you meet your future self or meet the self that you are that you're unaware of, it's totally worth it. And to just keep going, even if life knocks you down, keep at it because it is worth it. You haven't come this far only to come this far. Um, and you're just going to grow daily. So that's what I would have wanted to know when I started my journey. It's okay to start small. You don't have to have this elaborate plan or plot to get to. No, it's okay. You're going to walk through and journey through, and it's going to be worthwhile.
Yeah.
So,
I love that. I love that a lot. So, a couple more questions and then we are all set. Share a fun fact about yourself.
fun fact: I like adventure,
Mm.
so I went skydiving,
Ah,
and I would like to go again, and I would also like to go base jumping,
what's
which
that?
is
What's
base jumping. I feel like you jump out and you're in basically this windsuit kind of, and you kind of, you know how those flying squirrels look.
Yeah, yes, yes.
And so that's basically how the suit looks, and you jump
Ah.
and then you have a chute deploy, but the windsuit kind of gives you lift, so you're kind of like you're
Mm.
flying basically because you're
Huh.
not attached to another person. So yeah.
Ah, I did not know that about you, but that's good. I didn't know
hmm
you were adventurous, but I love it. All right. So, what does being free mean to you?
Being free means to me that I am able to be myself, that I don't have to um, put on a show for anybody, that I don't have to conform to what society says I am. Being free to me means being happy, being joyful, being free to be joyful, to express joy and to exude happiness. Um, some people would say that being free is working for yourself, which I can do it eventually, but being free to me is walking in your purpose, acting out your passion in whatever capacity, if that is your business or you just, something that you're adventurous about. It's living in your passion, walking in your purpose, and being yourself, and
Mhm.
being free to be yourself so you
Yeah.
don't feel confined to someone else's standards. So
Yeah. And I don't like how the internet has it where everybody has to be an entrepreneur. That is not being free. When I tell you
mhm.
this work is hard work, this is not easy work. And it's
Yes.
not for everyone. And I don't like that it's being forced. Like, this is how you be free. No, being free is doing
Mhm.
what you love to do. So if that's being an accountant, a lawyer, if that's painting,
Mhm.
dancing, whatever that looks like for you, you get to do that and you get to choose, and nobody should tell you what that looks like for you. So I'm so glad that
Right.
you defined it that way, because I am right in alignment with you.
Yeah.
And then my last question is, what are you most excited about that's coming up in the next few months, which is quite interesting because we're approaching 2020. So what are you
Mhm.
most excited about in this upcoming year?
Well, I think it's not just an upcoming year, but it's a new decade.
Mhm.
And I am excited about the seeing the woman that I have been working towards and what she's able to accomplish or she will accomplish. I am excited about the growth and what's next on my journey. Even if it's hard or even if it's like a slap in the or whatever, I'm excited about that because I know that I'm equipped and I have been equipped. So I'm just ready to see where 2020 and the next decade takes me and what I'm able to accomplish and what I'm able to do. I have been doing work to heal. So I'm excited about what does that look like? I've been shedding limiting beliefs and all of that. So how much can I accomplish now that I have shed these things? And what goals can I reach and new heights? I'm excited about that. So
I love that. I love that. I love that. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for
you're
being on the
welcome.
show. This was such a great conversation. And thank you for attending the Be Free meetups faithfully and being a part of the Be Free Inner Circle. And just, it's been a blessing to watch your light shine. Like,
Oh,
I'm really serious. And I'm excited too to see what this next chapter will look like, especially being a part of it and being able to witness it. Like, I'm excited about that for you. And I will make sure that I link your handle. So if people want to connect with you after the show, I'll make sure that I link your IG handle in the show notes. And until next time, girl, be free. Hey, BFFs, I want to personally invite you to BeFreeInnerCircle.com, your community for real sisterhood where women are showing up and doing the work. Whether you're still trying to figure out what you want to be when you grow up, or you need accountability to keep pushing forward to reach your goals, the Be Free Inner Circle is the community for you. You can expect curated content that will support you on becoming the best version of yourself, live office hours and Q&A sessions where we chat about things like overcoming self-doubt, building your confidence, practicing self-care without guilt, and so much more. Virtual live events from book clubs and workshops with guest speakers, and a supportive and active community of women that will encourage you, hold you accountable, cheer you on, and give you honest feedback and advice. It's the perfect place to be for women who are ready to show up, flourish, and be free. Join today at BeFreeInnerCircle.com.